Hey, carburetors and cogs, because sprockets doesn't start with C. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. Okay, I know it's not a cafe racer. I've just got so much to do today in a short period of time. You may have noticed that I did a trailer video last week for a couple of reasons. One, because I had put off doing a trailer for far too long. And secondly, because I didn't have much time to work out here in the garage. Because we had visitors and the guest bedrooms are above the garage, so I can't make a lot of noise early in the morning, which is my time out here. And just wanted to, before we jump into the cafe racer, and we are going to do that, I wanted to put a shout out to, by the way, if you guys don't want to have, or if you don't have one of these brushes for cleaning chains, get one. They're cheap, and there's just some tools that are just brilliant ideas, and man, that's a good tool. And simple. Not that you can't do it with just a regular brush. I used to do that, but this is slick. Wanted to talk about a new build video series slash YouTube channel that I'm watching, and put the word out there for those of you that are interested in watching something unique. Like my project, there's a lot of late 70s, early 80s Japanese, Yamaha, Suzuki, Honda cafe racer builds going on out there, and of course that's all fine and dandy. I love that, but this one's kind of fun. I follow an adventure rider, because obviously I'm into adventure riding also, named Anders, and his YouTube channel is called Around on a Bike. And he's Scandinavian, he lives in Sweden, and so I just kind of like his demeanor and style. Something that I resonate with because I grew up in eastern North Dakota and lived in Minnesota for, well, most of my life. And that region of the world was settled in the late 19th century, early 20th century by predominantly Scandinavians. So that demeanor, that way of carrying yourself is very familiar to me, and I just like Anders. But he is building a 1951, it's called a Fram, which is a Swedish build or brand of motorcycle. I think it has a Husqvarna engine in it. In fact, I know it does. And it's old enough to where it looks like a bicycle with an engine thrown in it. So pretty cool build. I'll put a link down below if you're interested in watching something different. And Anders is a cool guy. And then if you like watching adventure touring videos and vlogs, he has got a couple of long series trips around the Balkans that are really cool. So check him out. Now a little clear coat on those parts that we painted last episode. Usual 3 coats. Okay, so we've struck gold in the mailbox this week. I've got a new 530 110 link chain for the cafe racer. That's what the GS550 uses. And I think this gold is going to look good against a clean silver sprocket, which we got to get this cleaned up. And I'm going to polish the aluminum on that too. Not on the sprocket, but on the hub behind it. And then I've also got these jets that came in for my carburetors. Now I've got various sizes. If you go back to my previous Cafe Racer video, I talked about my logic behind the jet sizes for the main jet that I'm going to do. Couple up from stock, stock being 80, 2 or 3 up for the pod filters, and then another 1 or 2 for the exhaust. And then I'm going to back that off 1 because I'm at near sea level. So there's my logic. Where does that put me? Okay, so here's the total set that I have, and I have 4 of these. I've only laid out 1 set, and I had to go to 2 different sources for these because this came as a complete kit of 88 through 125. So you've got 88, 90, 95, I think this is a 90, yeah, 98, 100, 105, 110, 115, 120, 125. And then 80 is my stock jetting, which is back in the bags. I took them out of the cards. And there is a, gosh, I believe there's an 82.5 or 83, but I didn't order that. I'm just assuming that I'm gonna make a bigger leap than that. So I've started at 85. I got 4 of those. So I have 4 of these complete sets. And so for pod filters, if I'm at 80, I'm gonna go to like 85, 86. And then for a more free-flowing exhaust, I'm gonna go another 1 or 2, and then back 1 for being near sea level. Atmospheric pressure being higher the lower you are in altitude. And so I'm gonna start out at 90. For better or for worse, that's how I'm gonna approach this. Start at 90, see what happens. I know that I'll probably end up taking the carbs off at least 1 more time, maybe many, many times. You know, let's just accept that up front, and we'll get really good at taking carbs off. Frankly, I mean, because I'm not using the stock air box, it should be a piece of cake. So the other thing I'm going to try to refrain from doing at this stage with the carbs is raising up the needles. I may need to do that, but I'm not going to start there. So, you know, that's it. If I have to take it all apart, and there's a SIR clip, and you know, the lower you put that clip, the higher that needle rides, and the more fuel you're getting throughout your throttle range. So you got to start somewhere, and I think that no change for those needles is just as good a starting point as a change. And if we have to make a change, we will. And so here I've laid them all out, 85, 86, you know, 88, 90, 95, 100. I think there's a 98 actually. No, that is 100. 98, 95, 90, 88, 85. Okay, sorry. So I chose 90 here, and then I'm just going to bag the rest of these up and tag them. I doubt I'm going to get up into this range, but they came with the kit, so I'm just going to probably lump all those together in one bag because I don't have enough bags for 10 sets here. And I mention all of this and show you that I did it this way for a reason. I saved a bit of money doing it this way. This set of 85s was about $8.50. And you know, if I did that times all of these, even if I got half of this range, I've spent more money than I spent for this entire set. So I think the whole set was like 30, and you know, in one purchase I've got everything I'll need in my range except for the 85s, which this may have been a foolish thing. Possibly I won't need to be this low, but I thought if I do need to be that low, you know, here we go. This is
90. So I did it this way to save money. Riveting stuff.
And whether or not my logic is correct on where I'm starting with the jets, you know, we're gonna have to figure that out. Stay tuned to this series and you'll see whether or not that was the right choice. So it's a journey, folks. And stay tuned for the end of this video. I've got an update on the Cafe Racer seat.
Well, this has got to be the worst lighting for any scene or shot I've ever done in this whole video series, but we're going to roll with it. I just wanted to touch real quickly on the engine. It's been sitting here patiently for over a year since I rebuilt it. And you know, the thought occurred to me that some of you may be in the same situation where you start with rebuilding your engine and then you spend a lot of time working on the rest of the bike. And depending upon where you are in the world and the prevailing humidity levels, that may be a good or a bad thing. I'm lucky, I'm in Southern California and it's very dry. I think we've had a little rain the entire time. I had that frame sitting there with bare metal on it for a year and no rust on any of that bare metal. But if you live somewhere else, you may want to consider some things, and I've been doing these things anyways. First off, internally, you know, you've got to have some assembly lube on your cams and any of the parts that aren't going to get oil immediately on first startup. And so, of course, I built this with assembly lube, if you've watched that. But then even here in California, I've been putting a little fogging oil down into the cylinders, oh, I don't know, every 6 months or something, you know. But if you're in a more humid climate, you may consider doing that just a little more frequently than that. And the other thing you could do is take off the ignition side, put I believe it's a 17 millimeter, might be 19 millimeter wrench on there, and just turn that thing over clockwise while spraying some fogging oil in there. But you're going to be also turning your cams and your valve tappets. So as long as you got the assembly lube on there, you should be okay. But a thought, I'm ignoring it largely because of where I live. If you live somewhere else where there's more rain and humidity, you may want to consider some more attention on a more frequent basis. Let's put it that way. And then more aluminum polishing. I want to get this rear brake hub assembly polished up, so we're going to sand that. I won't bore you with the details of that, but you've seen that in my other videos, the polishing aluminum video I just did. Same steps. And then I want to get this sprocket off of here so that I can get back in here and polish up this hub piece also. Brake pads. I'm going to get the spec on the shoe thickness of the brake material here on these brake shoes, and then we'll measure those and see if they need to be updated. Okay, let's find our brake shoe spec. Now here's something I wanted to ask you guys about. Maybe there's somebody out there watching with experience with these GS550s. I don't recall these two tubes being on top of my airbox, but those two hoses right there are what they call the carburetor air vent pipes, and they come from the number 2 and 4 cylinders. Or sorry, number 2 and number 4 carbs. You'll recall in a previous episode I asked myself what those things are, and I have to figure that out. And clearly this is saying that those two pipes just extend up above the air box and just sit there. Here they are on the carbs. This one, I'm sorry, let's see. Yeah, number 2, number 4. This is number 1. And it's here and here. And then this one heads off from number 3 to the petcock, fuel petcock valve. So these two, for whatever reason, are supposed to go up to the top of the air box and just terminate wide open like that. I don't get that. So they're supposed to be just sucking ambient air into number 2 and 4. Why? Okay, brake shoe lining thickness, standard 4 millimeter, service limit 2 millimeter. Let's see what I've got. .47, 3.65, 3.6, 4, 3.5. Calling it good for now. Budget project. Don't need to replace these. Just clean them up with some brake cleaner. Now, of course, the other consideration there would be the condition, and you should inspect your brake shoes. If you see flaking or pieces missing, some sign of contamination of some sort, then replace them, obviously. But mine don't show any of that, and I've got good thickness according to the service manual, so I'm going to keep my brake shoes for now. So another quick thing I wanted to show you guys is on the engine. And thinking ahead, I'm not using the stock air box, and I've got this breather that normally goes to a collection reservoir. I don't know the exact terms that Suzuki uses, but I've got to come up with something to cover this for those crankcase gases that vent out of there, and I'll show you what I came up with. So I got this fun little guy. How the heck do I open it? There we go. Kind of a cool little pod filter in a green material, and it's got a nice wide thing, but it's there's an interference here. I think this is actually meant for an automotive application, on top of a valve cover on a big V8 or something. But check this out. So while this is the right size, it interferes on the top of the valve cover or cylinder head cover, and so I need a bit of an extension here, and I'll show you how I solved that. I just got some really stiff fuel line. This is 3/8 inch or 9.5 millimeter, and then a 3/8 inch union, which frankly I could cut down, but if I just put a section of that on there, I think I'm going to cut these down just to shorten it up, and then well, let's do this. Okay, get that on there pretty good. Actually, that's a pretty good length if I leave this thing whole. So let me mark that off. Actually want that on a little further. It's a tight fit. Tight is good. Grease pen, get one. There are more aesthetically pleasing hose clamps available out there. Let's make sure, yeah, that'd be good. Budget project, you know? And uno más. Just getting it snug right now. Okay, let's go put it on. One other thought on the hose for that breather, or frankly any other hose that you need to put on your bike. I'm not going to do this because the colors aren't working for me, but if you go to your local hardware store, you can find hot and cold braided lines for sinks. And these braids, when you cut this, you can actually take this woven braiding off the outside. I actually did that once to make a filter screen for a mash tun and sparging tank for brewing beer. So those of you that brew beer will know what I'm talking about. And so this outer weave of the anodized metal with the color can be literally slid off of these hoses and put over a fuel line. And so if you want to splash a color, this is a place to go get some at the hardware store, or maybe you can even buy this woven material on eBay or something. I frankly haven't looked. I was gonna do it and then I thought, no, red and green and too many colors. I'm gonna chill out. I stayed away from doing this, but it's an option for somebody if you want to make a little bit of a statement. And then to remove the sprocket, I first have to hammer these down flat. They are essentially hold down tabs that keep those bolts from, or those nuts from loosening up. I'm just going to do this down on the ground because hammering on my workbench makes everything rattle and make a mess. These are reusable if you're not too hard on it. That should work. Now, how am I going to do this? I'm going to keep this thing steady. I may just, well, yeah, I could plop it in the wheel. Let's do that. And while I'm at it, I just want to see how snug these, this is called a cush drive, I guess, for lack of a better term. Maybe it's called something else in other parts of the world, but, you know, it could have a slight amount of play to it, but not much. I mean, this is less than, gosh, I'd say even a 1/4 millimeter of rotation. It's nothing. So, but if yours is really loose, you may want to consider replacing these rubbers in here. And I wonder if I'm going to need more leverage. Well, that's good. Real knuckle buster if you're not careful. This last one is very stubborn for some reason. There's just corrosion in here. Threads are not in great shape. May want to replace those. No, I didn't use my ratchet as a hammer. That was the lightest tap. Please don't comment. Okay, let's get this cleaned up and this guy polished up. So getting these brake shoes out of here is a lot simpler than it seems. You got these two springs that are putting tension on them, and they're just resting in there. And then of course, when this is turned, it has a flat side and it drives that outward. That's a strong spring, but anyways, to get this out, pretty easy. Just be careful. Release the tension. Just get them off of one side. And they're out just that easily. I can just go clean these up. A little bit more difficult to put them back in, but not too bad. It's kind of nice to actually be cleaning a large part for once. I can use a big brush and make fast work of it. Most of the brush and kerosene work I've been doing is toothbrush and intricate small stuff. If you don't like cleaning things, don't make a cafe racer from an old motorcycle. Buy one brand new and start with that, I guess. You know, on second thought, I am not going to try to polish this because as I look at it closely, it's a steel sprocket and it's galvanized. So you're not going to really polish galvanized. But we got it cleaned up. It's looking far better. And we'll have some nice shiny parts around it. So, sanding. We're going to polish this up, and I got to check my bearing here. That's really solid. I'll be reusing that. And same thing as I did on the carburetor float bowls and the covers. 600 grit, then 1500. Then 2000, then the aluminum polish on the buffing wheel. And that's pretty much my, my protocol. And while I've got the kerosene out, I'm just going to clean up this brake caliper because I'm going to have to paint this. Before you go saying don't use kerosene on a brake caliper because you're going to contaminate the pads, that's correct, and I intend to replace these pads. So, in fact, maybe I should just get these out of here. I want to take these parts, take this apart anyways. So to remove this pad that's on the static part of the brake caliper, there's a JIS screw here. Looks like a Phillips. Is not Phillips. Outer pad comes right off. I still had some material there, but now that I've contaminated it, I got a new set anyways. I'm gonna go with that, throw this away. And then I believe to get the top, or I'm sorry, the sliding part of the caliper out, I've got to remove these two bolts. Or guide pins really is what they are. And they are 8mm Allen or hex. There we go. That's our guide pin. Got a fair amount of grease on it yet. That's good. And then you just got this part that holds the brake shoe or the brake lining. And it's just a simple piece. I'm just inspecting the seal here around the piston. Tap this thing out. There we go. So there's another brake pad that I'm going to discard. And now painting this and this outside cover, we're going to need to get this super clean like anything else. So I'm going to get in deep with kerosene now, clean this out. I can see looking down in there that I have got, you guys won't be able to see it, but I've got brake fluid that has, well, absorbed water and gone corrosive, let's say. So I'm going to have to order up a kit, get this piston out of here, clean up the inside of this whole caliper piston cylinder area, perhaps hone that out. I doubt it. These brakes were working great when I put it away, but this was many years ago now at this point. This bike has been off the road for a long time, and that's what happens to brake fluid when it's exposed to the atmosphere. It just goes brown and clumpy and thick, and those clumps present quite a dangerous hazard if you leave it. Back to my favorite exercise, sanding and polishing. I would say building a cafe racer, especially from an old motorcycle, is about 80% cleanup, and the other 20% is building and fabricating and designing and all that. But mostly it's cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and making it look nice. This is gonna be a wrap for this week, you guys. And I apologize, I will not be posting a build video or any sort of maintenance next weekend, as I am going on a long vacation with my family, and we're going to be out of the country. I may shoot a little update or something from my phone just to say hello, but I did want to, here at the end, talk about Rodney at Allison Sails and Canvas. He has been working on the Cafe Racer seat. As you recall, I sent it off to him, and of course he received it and he's begun work on it. He is a sewing machine master. He has the equipment needed to do something like this. You know, I've got a little simple sewing machine that my girls use, but you need, like, for putting the vinyl or leather top material and then some foam underneath it to get those nice pleats. One, he has the expertise. Two, you need the equipment. It has to have like something called a walking foot to move the material through to get the right result, and he knows all of that. He's got it. Here are some photos of the work that he's doing. We've chosen a really nice tan color, and he is going to run some pleating, and you know, I don't know all of what he's got planned. Frankly, he's going to surprise us all, and for all I know, that thing is in the mail back to me right now. So that reminds me, I better tell him I'm not going to be home to receive it if he's planning on shipping something. So as always, if you like what I'm doing here, if you like Cafe Racers or just hanging out in the garage, give me a thumbs up. That really helps out the channel. And if you have ideas or comments on anything that I've been doing, some tidbit of information that you can share with the Urban Monk TV community. We got a lot of GS550 and GS whatever builders out there watching this channel. And then any Cafe Racer builder, of course, can learn something here from watching someone else. I watch build videos on other bikes like the Fromm that Anders is doing. And so thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time, which might be a little ways out. Thanks so much for watching.